Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 4:06 p.m. on the 30th of November 2024. The sun's decided to come out and shine bright. That's nice. Had a lovely time dancing last night for Alter Egos at the Brooklyn Standard. Had a very nice time. Quite astonishingly tired today. So, but I got a good old, dance. I didn't do the 360-degree mosh as promised because I don't want to hurt my neck anymore, and I finally realised I'm too old for it. Not too old for the actual mosh. I still did the up and down and the side to side, but there's no more twirling of the head anymore. Oh, I miss it, but the neck, the head and the neck. I must keep my head while all about me are losing theirs and blaming it on me, babies. So I thought I'd carry on with reading from the Arabian Nights. Hello, Charlie. And Sinbad the Sailor, which is going to be a very long 3-video or full video story. Charlie, I literally only just got you out of your cage just before I started this video, and all you have done in that 5 minutes is pooped everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Astonishing. Should have a massive one in the sink. Should have a massive one on the floor. She's done 3 massive ones in the 5 minutes I've been sitting here. So what are we going to do about that, Charlie? What are we going to do about what? What are we going to do about your tuchus, Charlie? Did I miss a bit? Oh, no, it's just wet from cleaning. Anyway, it's going to be possibly a 3 or 4 video story. It's a very long one. And we'll see how my energy reserves go as I start to fade out and just get more and more faded out. I'll just stop there. So you'll have to bear with me, people of Earth. But I hope you enjoy the story. I haven't previewed it. I'm reading all this cold. I kind of know the story of Sinbad the Sailor because it was one of my favourite movies as a child. So, yes, I was always a magical child raised by magical but very dangerous and mad people. So there is that. So it has its blessings and it has its curses, and how I calibrate the eccentricities and the spiritualism, mediumship, psychism, and the mythological inclinations and the magical in any given moment in the space-time continuum. That can get a bit astonishing, people, as it did yesterday. But this is me, and this is who I am and what I represent, and I have to just ride through it. But you, my friends, have the power of the X button or the little red square button. You're under no obligation to watch my videos. So you have the ability to switch me off anytime you like, whereas I have to continuously live in this existence and somehow find meaning and performance art and true love and happiness and prosperity and peace and comfort and ease and joy and delight, like the joy and delight of my bird leaning backwards, rather randomly laying her head in the crook between my thumb and forefinger, which is kind of a dangerous thing to do. Like, it just shows you she trusts me, because you could just go and be all over Red Rover, am I right? Well, because I would never do that because she's my pet, but look, Who does that? Who lies their head upside down in a potential life-threatening situation? Charlie does. That's who. Charlie, the intrepid, wild, untamable, indomitable, fierce warrior goddess bird. I love you, you mad cow. She said, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I'm just a bird, and I like to stick my head upside down and look at you upside down, Mum. Because when I look at you upside down, your eyes are even prettier than you really can imagine. That's a lie I just made up, Charlie. She says, no, really, Mum. Oh, shh, we're reading a story, okay? We're going to read the story. We're reading Arabic fairy stories, Charlie. I'm thinking I'll have to go to a library and source my next lot of fairy stories, because I bought this book quite happily, and I'm glad I bought it. It's a beautiful book, but I can't keep up buying, a whole library of fairy stories when I can go down to the library and actually borrow them. It hadn't even occurred to me, because I'm so used to buying my own books. It's been a thing I've always been like that. But I could go to the library, and I want to. I think the next country we'll read fairy stories of will be either Russian or Polish or Slavic. I think that'll be there too. We'll read those, and I also want to read Maori mythological stories perhaps too. But I have to go to the library because I don't own those books. So it's all good. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is at the tap of a button. They might even be on the internet, so I could perhaps bring them up on my iPhone, read from there. We'll see. I'll have a little look at it later on, go on a little exploration of things later. But we've still got a lot of this book to read, and I don't even know if I want to read the whole book, because I wanted to also read the American short stories, two of which we've only read one, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So, yes, choices and options and joys and delights and miracles and magic and mayhem and mystery and manifestations of the Tanya and things to do while I'm waiting for the man of my life to present himself and say, I want you to be my partner, Tanya, and let's go, girlfriend. Well, anyway, that may happen, may not happen, according to the circumstances and the individuals. It's funny how I always put that into plural, isn't it? Why do I do that? I don't want plural lovers. That's the last thing I want. Nothing could be more stress-inducing and anxiety-provoking than having plural lovers. So let's rewind. The individual concerned of their own free will, heart, mind, body, spirit and soul. Amen, Vasila, so may it be, with harm to none and competition from none. That is the manifestation, people, and yet my mind keeps wanting to unravel it and do weird things. I'm not sure what that's about, so we're going to nip that in the bud, because you can't manifest something when you're throwing in too many quotients and options and crazy things. You have to be single-minded and focused. But of course, if it involves a relationship, you have to allow for, the fact that that person may not even be alive yet, God forbid, that would be weird, or that you may not meet them till the next incarnation, or, that it's not going to happen in this lifespan. I have to be real here, to be very real with myself, not be the psychedelic dreamer, getting all, excited about just someone being kind to me. Oh, dear goddess. wow, that's a cumulative damage from years of when people weren't kind and were manipulative and perverted and evil. So they've left me with this kind of constant flubbering, and yeah, it is a bit like that, you know. It's like I feel very unsettled. I feel very unsettled when I don't know where I stand with people. It's very distressing to me. Well, so it's true of everyone, isn't it? It's nothing worse than feeling like just chasing your own tail, which is ironic since I go out with a tail on my bag. Do you want to see it? I'll show you my. I bought it in the shop where I put all my witchy jewellery for sale, and because it was lovely. My daughter gave me this bag actually 2 years ago, but I had it put away because I had a turquoise blue one. So I waited for that one to get all manky and old and has been before I brought this out. And then it had a fake tail on it that was kind of ugly and manky looking. New, it's brand new, but I didn't like the fake tail it had on it. So when I went to the shop, Spellbound Mana in Capalaba Central, they sold real tails. So I couldn't resist buying this tail because it matches the bag. So while some of the men in the club are chasing my tail, I'm literally running around with my bag with its own tail, telling a tale of a different story and living my best life. And there's kind of hubris and humour in that. I find it quite delightful. Oh. Anyway, let us carry on. Beautiful people of planet Earth, all sentient beings, including Charlie, and all inter and ultra and extra dimensional entities of love, light and truth, and honour and integrity and peace, shalom, salam, you name it, we have it, and we manifest it, we create it, we be it, comes from within. And let us continue with the stories. There's beautiful stories of ancient times. Things that women did to avoid having their head chopped off, mind you. Bear that in mind. It's the original source of these stories according to the story within the story within the story. A beautiful cleaning lady Rati, when I said to her that I'm reading the Scheherazade, and I explained about that she was telling a story to the king to avoid having her head chopped off. And then she looked at me and she said, oh, like Marie Antoinette in France. And I went, no, she lost her head because she was out of touch with the extreme poverty that was surrounding her and her people, and she was a terrible queen. She had no empathy or kindness towards her own people because she was so detached and removed from it in the extreme grandiose wealth. So she told them to eat cake, and for that ignominy, she lost her head. But she was probably going to lose her head anyway because she was married to King Louis XIV, and they all had to kind of go because it was the revolution. But you know, the legend was that she had no sweetness or kindness to the actual condition that her population, her people of France were living under, and which was what brought about the revolution. But I said, we all lose our heads in one form or another. I've lost mine a few times. Falling in love, falling out of love, being strangled 3 times, which wasn't pleasant. Losing my trust in my government, which, by the way, I lost long before the COVID lunacy came along. And so there is that. There's many ways of losing your head without it actually being detached permanently from your body. Just saying. So I have no intention of losing my head at this late stage of life. I choose not to, for as long as possible, and as heaven forfend I get Alzheimer's like my mother, which would be an awful fate because I know how that goes now, having helped her through that final process. Assisted her in her final processing. It's not pretty, people of earth. So anyway, but on a happy note, let us live in Titania's realm, the realm of magic and mystery and wonder, and of story which always have some kind of teaching moment in it, or some epiphany, or something that is a touchstone for us to hold on to in strange and dark times that make no sense, like the last 4 years. I'm grateful that actually I've been a student of the occult all my life. It kept me relatively stable through that time period, astonishingly so. Once you understand archetypes and tricksters and liars and con men and genociders, you kind of have an early warning system go off in your brain. Ding, 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 ding. Warning, Will Robinson. Warning, warning, warning. So I'm grateful for that gift of all my years of study and reading and exploring and being preternaturally courageous enough to say no, hell no, and did I mention no? So there is that too, but I was in a rather unique position that my health was already so compromised and precarious that it was just like they didn't dare push it on me. They just knew not to. Somehow saw the blood in my eye and said I'm already in a constant process of dying, so one more thing will be one more thing too much. So I held my ground, and here we are, healing, living my best life, joyously and triumphantly, and getting healthier, ironically, even though I caught COVID in October, 12 months ago. So, 13 months ago now. Mama T is a survivor and a thriver, and she can pull her energetic resources together for one night only and go dancing, being wild and carefree. So, gratitude to the gods for that, and my beautiful friends in the bands who provide the music and the vehicle for me to be astonishingly weird in my performance art and creative, and opens me up creatively actually too. It's very, very healing and therapeutic for me, and good exercise. Anyway, Sinbad the Sailor. Quoth Scheherazade the next evening, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that there lived in the city of Baghdad, during the reign of the commander of the faithful, Harun al-Rashid, a man named Sinbad the Hamal, one in poor case, who bore burdens on his head for hire." So he was a carrier. "It happened to him one day of great heat, that whilst he was carrying a heavy load, he became exceeding weary and sweated profusely, the heat and the weight alike oppressing him. Presently, as he was passing the gate of a merchant's house, before which the ground was swept and watered, and there the air was temperate. He sighted a broad bench beside the door, so he set his load thereon to take rest and smell the air. There came out upon him from the court door a pleasant breeze and a delicious fragrance. He sat down on the edge of the bench, and at once heard from within the melodious sound of lutes and other stringed instruments, and mirth-exciting voices singing and reciting together with the song of birds, Charlie, warbling and glorifying Almighty Allah in various tunes and tongues. Turtles, mockingbirds, merles, nightingales, cusharts, I think that's pronounced cusharts, and stone curlews, whereat he marvelled in himself, and was moved to mighty joy and solace. Then he went up to the gate and saw within a great flower garden, wherein were pages and black slaves, and such a train of servants and attendants and so forth as is found only with kings and sultans, and his nostrils were greeted with the savoury odours of all manner meats, rich and delicate, and delicious and generous wines. So he raised his eyes heavenwards and said, Glory to thee, O Lord, O Creator and Provider, who providest whomso thou wilt without count or stint. O mine Holy One, I cry thee pardon for all sins, and turn to thee repenting of all offences. O Lord, there is no gainsaying thee in thine ordinance and thy dominion. Neither wilt thou be questioned of that thou dost, for thou indeed over all things art almighty. Extolled be thy perfection, whom thou wilt thou makest poor, and whom thou wilt thou makest rich. Whom thou wilt thou exaltest, and whom thou wilt thou abasest. And there is no God but thou. This is true, is it not? Written that hurdy-gurdy, right? It's okay, people of earth. It's all okay. It's all great spiritual development. Made me whom I am today. Some of it I could have done without though. But we won't think about that now. We'll read the story. How mighty is thy majesty, and how enduring thy dominion, and how excellent thy government. Verily, thou favourest whom thou wilt of thy servants, whereby the owner of this place abideth in all joyance of life, and delighteth himself with pleasant scents and delicious meats and exquisite wines of all kinds. For indeed thou appointest unto thy creatures that which thou wilt, and that which thou hast foreordained unto them. Wherefore are some weary, and others are at rest, and some enjoy fair fortune and affluence, while others suffer the extreme of travail and misery, even as I do. And he fell to reciting, how many by my labours that evermore endure, all goods of life enjoy, and in cooly shade recline. Each morn that dawns, I wake in travail and in woe, and strange is my condition, and my burden gars me pine. Many others are in luck, and from miseries are free, and fortune never loads them with loads the like of mine. They live their happy days in all solace and delight, eat, drink, and dwell in honour mid the noble and the dying, meaning dignitaries. All living things were made of a little drop of sperm. Thine origin is mine, and my provenance is thine. Yet the difference and distance twixt the twain of us are far, as the difference of savour twixt vinegar and wine. But at thee, O God all-wise, I venture not to rail, whose ordinance is just, and whose justice cannot fail. Wow, I didn't get much justice in life with all disputes and adult guardians and public trustees and divorce lawyers and all the other vulturous, verminous, scum-sucking, bloodless curs. But there is a higher justice at play, and one day, well, we're seeing it now in our world, are we not? Calm your foul tongue, Aarons. Trust in the Lord, the great balancer and equalizer. It's astonishing sometimes. It really is. But yes, I'm talking here about natural law, and we all paying our karmic debts one way or another, including my own silly self at times. I have to ride a very fine line sometimes. Stay on the edge of righteousness. Try not to slide over into the abyss for another game of snakes and ladders, because I don't want to do that. It takes too many eons to restore my soul, and only God can restore my soul. Amen v'salah. So on we go. When Sinbad the porter, it's interesting because one of my great-grandfathers was a carrier by profession too. It's kind of almost a form of white slavery. I mean, he was paid, but probably not very much. And that's how he supported his family as an immigrant to New Zealand in the days when there were no shops, no civilization, and you literally had to carry everything in from the ships and carry things for people. It would have been a hard life. So I've got all that race DNA fucking intergenerational trauma as well, by the gods. But anyway, how does it go? Was it Stephanie Beecham said it? I've been rich and I've been poor, but rich is better. But I'm not prepared to become the kind of verminous, scum-sucking, ignoble, treacherous, demonic imp to get rich again. I chose to stay poor for a reason in a way, keep myself safe from treacherous, ugly, verminous people that surrounded me when I was richer. Isn't that weird? Oh, Small's violin. And I'm climbing the Stairway to heaven. Getting nowhere fast. Spinning my dime. Dancing wildly. Shaking off all the evil negativity and bringing in my beautiful man from my beautiful life. Whoever that man manifests to be sometime in the future. In the space-time continuum. Could be a day, or it could be 1,000 years in the mind of God. Their timing is always off, by the way. Oh, the stories they tell me, the fairy stories they have told me. And it's always quite off with the timing. So I can't take it seriously, you understand. Oh, poor Tanya. Anyway, they're laughing. They're laughing because they've showed me so many signs now that that person's coming, and I'm starting to believe it now. It's taken a lot to make me believe it, but I'm starting to see it. I am. So, when Sinbad the porter had made an end of reciting his verses, he bore up his burden and was about to fare on, when there came forth to him from the gate a little foot page. Why is that battery flat? I've got to plug it. Wait a minute. We've got to plug it before that. You blowing me kisses, Charlie? Did I hear you go? Where's the schmutter, Charlie? Where did we put the cloth? Oh, down here. You and your pepperkin. Your pepperkin took us. Alright, can you just, excuse me, can you put your tail, put your tail that way. Right, you going to blow me kisses? No? You come sit on my shoulder? No? She's a very independent woman, my child. She's a very fiercely independent woman. Right. We're twin souls, her and I. We really are. It's quite astonishing, actually. From the gate a little foot page, fair of face and shapely of shape and dainty of dress, who caught him by the hand, saying, Come in and speak with my lord, for he calleth for thee. The porter would have excused himself to the page, but the lad would take no refusal. So he left the load with the doorkeeper in the vestibule and followed the boy into the house, which he found to be a goodly mansion. My throat literally closes up lately. It's like, it's really annoying. I wonder what that's about. Which he found to be a goodly mansion, radiant and full of majesty, till he brought him to a grand sitting room, wherein he saw a company of nobles and great lords, as opposed to not so great lords. Oh, come on, Tanya, get with the program. All right, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Seated, it's going to be a long story. Seated at tables garnished with all manner of flowers and sweet-scented herbs. Now that sounds delightful, does it not? Besides great plenty of dainty viands and fruits dried and fresh, and confections, that's where my eyes light up, and wines of the choicest vintages. There also were instruments of music and mirth, and lovely slave girls playing and singing. All the company were ranged according to rank, and in the highest place sat a man of worshipful and noble aspect, whose beard sides hoariness had stricken, beard sides hoariness had stricken, gone grey, or pulled his beards out. I don't know what that means. And he was stately of stature and fair of favour, good looking, agreeable of aspect, kind, and full of gravity and dignity and majesty. A gentleman, methinks, more than a gentleman, a man of high distinction, a man of valour, a man that when you meet him you think, I am in the presence of a king, even though he just might be an ordinary personage. But you know a king when you see one. So Sinbad the porter was confounded at that which he beheld, and said in himself, by Allah, this must be either a piece of paradise or some king's palace. Then he saluted the company with much respect, praying for their prosperity, and kissing the ground before them, stood with his head bowed down in humble attitude. Somebody should be praying for his prosperity since he's a porter and has such a hard and destitute life. But you see, when you wish well for others and you don't run around seeping and ridden with your own envy and insecurities and putrescence and evil, petty jealousies and ignoble, ugly envies, you're already prosperous when your heart is kind and wishes well for others in spite of their situation. Just saying, even that ignoble fucking gimp, Dave, that I was in love with years ago, many years ago now, once said to me, oh, you're poor, Tanya. Yes, sir. He said, that's interesting. I said, why? He said, because you're rich in spirit. For that I loved him alone, that he recognised that poor, actual poverty is a state of mind. It doesn't help you when you haven't got money to pay your rent or to put food on the table for your children, and you have to go cap in hand and grovel to the charities and be treated like a fucking leper, by the way. Doesn't help you, but sometimes it gives you the courage and the strength to put yourself through that so you can actually feed your children, and in that you become queen for a day because you used your resources and your nous and you humbled yourself, ate fucking humble pie, was degraded in the process, pretty much. Wasn't always pleasant, but you got your fucking food and you put it on your table for your children. And then they abandoned you in adult life anyway, so what was that all actually about? Should have let the bastard starve. No, I'm joking about that. One has a duty to feed one's children. Even if you knew that they weren't going to love you when they grew up, what can you do? It's the intergenerational trauma and the poverty and the abuse dynamics. Cost me dear, people of Earth. So, the man who didn't actually value me recognised that I was at least rich in spirit, if nothing else. It's probably his way of being sarcastic, actually, if the truth be known. But doesn't matter. He's of no more importance than a shadow on the wall as the day moves from sunrise to sunset. A ghost in the machine, a non-entity, a nothing. Mama T has reclaimed her very rich spirit. And by the gods, it can be a bit vituperous and sharp-tongued and witty and, if I allow it, cruel, but I reserve that only for my enemies, you understand. And they've reached that point where I turn into that kind of monster. They've kind of had it coming for a very long time. So, as my friend Adam at the casino once observed, no one fucks with you, Tanya. And I said, no, because there's been quite enough fuckery since the day I was born, and we're not going to have that anymore, are we now? We're all going to get along swimmingly. And if you can't get along swimmingly, you'll have to go be awesome somewhere else. But he recognised that too. He said, if you don't like someone, Tanya, they must have done something really, really bad. He says, because you like most people and you're kind to most people. I've never seen you have a harsh word about anyone. And I just smiled because I thought, you really don't know me all that well, do you, Adam? Because I'm human after all. But I was really touched and humbled when he said that, because it showed that he recognised that all the years that I danced in that space, there was a lot of viciousness, really nasty people who constantly bullied and said the most foul things about me to my face and behind my back. And I just consistently strove most of the time to rise above it, because a lot of them weren't all that well, in truth, and neither was I. So there, but for the grace of God, go all of us together, in varying degrees of declension or ascension, according to thy will and force of mind and strength and courage and honour and integrity. Charlie was a drink. You ever drink Mama's drink? No? You know we need the water. The water line's way lower than that. You're not going to get a drink doing that, Charlie. Oh dear goddess. Anyway, I'll have a drink. Right. Anyway, wherever you are, Adam out there probably still occasionally goes to the new casino. You were a true friend to me and I honour you. So, on we go. Mum, she's always fair. She knows the people who were good and kind to her. I do know that much. One of the few people in the casino that was a true and loyal friend. Apart from my friends in the bands, of course, because they were always lovely to me too. Now, little Charlie. Kissy, kissy. Kissy, kissy. I feel like singing you a song in the middle of a Sinbad the Sailor song. What shall we sing to Charlie? If we're singing about sailors, it should be a sea shanty. But I won't, because it's just crazy. Let's carry on. I'm having all sorts of little segues here. I told you it's getting bad. But anyway, on we go and on we go. Where were we? We were up to the part. Ah, yes. I stopped it about him blessing them with prosperity when it was he who's in dire need of assistance from the gods. Sinbad the porter, after kissing ground between their hands, stood with his head bowed down in humble attitude. So they repeated that line again, showing his deep humility. Oh, poor love. Oh, poor love. He needs to grow his own spirit back, doesn't he? Become a little bit vainglorious and regal and triumphant and defiant and rebellious and own his own shit. But he won't, because he's too beaten down. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Took me a long time to become the queen that I am in my own ridiculous, absurdist way. Took quite a few near deaths actually. I am the way I am today, people of Earth, not because of either humility or hubris, but because the gods kept vomiting me back to Earth for my beautiful life, with my beautiful love story, with my beautiful man, and they want to see me finish this life out the way it should always have been actually from the very beginning, but something got twisted in the nature of reality and everything kind of spiraled down, and they wanted to see what it took for me to spiral back up. And it took a lot. It took too much. It took houses and businesses and children and safety and sanity and health and wealth. It took everything. But I'm not Job's daughter, and I still bless God because it is still an energy that drives the multiverses or this universe. But that Holy One and I are not quite as simpatico as we used to be. But the Lord loves those who helps themselves, ironically, and he's got a weird sense of humour, and he just loves to watch me fly in the face of my own sometimes, quite difficult life. And I think he understands now that as a shaman that I'm always going to be a bit unusual and unique, and I'm okay with it, and the good Lord seemingly is okay with it because I'm here making this video. Or am I? Maybe I really did die and I'm also a ghost in the machine, like that former lover. Oh, a glitching hologram in the Matrix. I did that yesterday in the video, didn't I? I said, you see me here, you see me there, you see me everywhere, but am I really here? Is anyone really here? I don't know, but let's do the fandango. Like a bolt of lightning, very, very frightening. Galileo, Galileo, Galileo. Oh, anyway, I've kept myself entertained for years like this. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. Right. The master of the house bade him draw near and be seated, and to be spoken kindly, bidding him, welcome, Sinbad the Sailor. Don't mind the mama tea. Just having a wee moment, but she's back in the room. Then he set before him various kinds of viands, rich and delicate and delicious. And the porter, after saying his Bismillah, fell to, that must be a kind of grace before meals, fell to and ate his fill. After which he exclaimed, praised be Allah, whatso be our case, and washing his hands, returned thanks to the company for his entertainment. He's got wonderful manners. I like a man with wonderful manners and couth. I do. It's a sign of greatness in my eyes. Quoth the host, thou art welcome, and thy day is a blessed. But what is thy name and calling? Quoth the other, O my lord, my name is Sinbad the Sailor, and I carry folks' goods on my head for hire. The housemaster smiled and rejoined, know, O porter, that thy name is even as mine, for I am Sinbad the Sailor. And now, O porter, I would have thee let me hear the couplets thou recitest at the gate anon. The porter was abashed and replied, Allah upon thee, excuse me, for toil and travail and lack of luck. When the hand is empty, teach a man ill manners and boorish ways. Said the host, be not ashamed, thou art become my brother, but repeat to me the verses, for they pleased me, when as I heard thee recite them at the gate. Hereupon the porter repeated the couplets, and they delighted the merchant, who said to him, know, O Hamal, that my story is a wonderful one, and thou shalt hear all that befell me, and all I underwent, ere I rose to this state of prosperity, and became the lord of this place wherein thou seest me. For I came not to this high estate, save after travail sore and perils galore. And how much toil and trouble have I not suffered in days of yore? I have made 7 voyages, by each of which hangeth a marvellous tale, such as confoundeth the reason. And all this came to pass by doom of fortune and fate. For from which destiny doth write, there is neither refuge nor flight. Know then, good my lords, continued he, that I am about to relate the first voyage of Sinbad the Sailor. My father was a merchant, one of the notables of my native place, a moneyed man and ample of means, who died while I was yet a child, leaving me much wealth and money and lands and farmhouses. When I grew up, I laid hands on the whole and ate of the best and drank freely and wore rich clothes and lived lavishly, companioning and consorting with youths of my own age, and considering that this course of life would continue forever and can no change. Thus did I for a long time, but at last I awoke from my heedlessness, and returning to my senses, I found my wealth had become unwealth, and my condition ill-conditioned, and all I once hent had left my hand. Which is a dreadful shock when it happens to one, just say. But mine was stolen from me by the most evil bastards. So I didn't actually squander my wealth, it just got lifted off my shoulders in no uncertain terms. And recovering my reason, I was stricken with dismay and confusion, and bethought me of a saying of our Lord Solomon, son of David, on whom be peace, which I had heard aforetime from my father. 3 things are better than other 3. The day of death is better than the day of birth. A live dog is better than a dead lion, and the grave is better than want. Came to that conclusion a few times, very, very close to that. What else can you do when there is no other choice but death? And yet still I'm here. Astonishing, isn't it? Somebody upstairs in the great mind of God either really likes me or really, really hates me, as they keep me here, whether I like it or not. Then I got together my remains of estates and property, and I'm liking it at this point of my life, this time frame of my life. I'm liking being alive and having beautiful souls around me and sweetness and kindness and, you know, I'm grateful for all of that. Probably because I know what it was like to have none of it for eons, 3 or 4 decades actually. Oh, a happy ever after is finally here. It's just still working out some of its kinks. Not literally, you understand, but you know what I mean. Things are still finding equilibrium, and that's because of my spirit still wrestling with the angel within and the demon without, fighting for supremacy over who gets to co-create with me my beautiful life, who gets top position is what I mean by that, who is the one. Then I got together my remains of estates and property, sold all, even my clothes, for 3,000 dirhams, with which I resolved to travel to foreign parts, remembering the saying of the poet, by means of toil man shall scale the height, whom to fame aspires mustn't sleep o' night, who seeketh pearl in the deep must dive. Well, I do love pearls. What's wrong with that, for the love of all the gods? I always wanted to go to Broome actually and see the pearl divers actually strut their stuff. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I wonder if they still do it in the traditional ways though. Probably not. It's probably all farmed now. Ah, winning weal and wealth by his main and might, and who seeketh fame without toil and strife, the impossible seeketh and wasteth life. You've got to put in the effort, people, whatever it is you're wanting out of life. 99% perseverance, 1% genius. Just saying. Dear Goddess. So taking heart, I bought me goods, merchandise and all needed for a voyage, and, impatient to be at sea, I embarked with a company of merchants on board a ship bound for Bassorah. There we again embarked and sailed many days and nights, and we passed from isle to isle, and sea to sea, and shore to shore. I have sailors in my bloodlines. My biological paternal grandfather was a ship's carpenter, and then my grandfather, my father's father, well, his antecedents were carriers, but some were farmers, but some sailed the seas as well. We have the sea in our blood. It's why when I get very, very distressed and will have very bad, trauma manifestations, someone, usually my friend Lynn, will say, I'm taking you to the sea. And she will literally lead me out into the water, and you will actually, in my energy, watch almost literally, the steam come out through my feet into the ocean. That's how much static I will have, because I'm a fire sign, I'm an Aries and have natural fiery energy anyway, but when I'm really stressed, I manifest it as this immense kind of energetic, kind of static. So if I ever look at you and I say, take me to the sea, take me now, take me, because it means I'm in real trouble and I need to decompress. Fortunately, that hasn't happened for a long time, but my friend Lynn loves me so much. She's such a beautiful sister to me. She can just look at my face and she'll say, you need the sea today, and she'll take me. Isn't she gorgeous? 2 days ago she arrived to visit, no, was it yesterday? No, it was Thursday. She arrived with a big bag, heavy bag of vegetables. What are you doing? You need vegetables. Why did you decide I need vegetables? My angels. I said, well, your angels are correct. I do indeed need vegetables. And she's always looking after me and very sweetly making sure I have enough to eat, or, even sometimes helping me out on rare occasions, because I don't like to burden my friends about money issues, because for me it's degrading in a way to have to ask for help with money. I try to manage, but there were times when I'd say, can you just give me a loan until the pension comes in the next fortnight and I'll pay you back. And we used to joke it was the Jewish financial means system, where she'd just float. She's not Jewish, but it was in a joke. She'd float me along and pay her back, and sometimes she'd say, I don't want the money back, helping you out. She's a beautiful friend to me, my friend Lynn. And I have other beautiful friends. But I'm so proud and happy at the moment, in this moment in time, that I'm managing without having to say, can you help me out with money, or can you help me pay a bill, or, because I lived like that. I lived like that for a long, long time, and it's soul destroying. It's soul destroying. It really is. But anyway. So anyway, but she brought me vegetables, and that's not because I asked for them, but it was just her inspiration from her guardian angel that often helps me out astonishingly. So to Lynn and her guardian angel, who's sometimes more on point than I am. Anyway, I made a lovely, she brought me lots of sweet potatoes and potatoes, so I made a lovely sweet potato and potato salad yesterday, and I devoured it all, so I'll have to make more today. By the goddess, I've been a hungry mama lately. I wonder what that's about. But anyway, we'll carry on. So we passed from isle to isle and sea to sea and shore to shore, having sailed many days and nights, buying and selling and bartering everywhere the ship touched, and continued our course till we came to an island, as it were a garth of the gardens of paradise. Here the captain cast anchor, and, making fast to the shore, put out the landing planks. So all on board landed and made, furnaces and lighting fires therein, busied themselves in various ways, some cooking and some washing, whilst some walked about the island for solace, and the crew fell to eating and drinking and playing and sporting. I was one of the walkers, but as we were thus engaged, behold, the master, who was standing on the gunwale, cried out to us at the top of his voice, saying, Ho there, passengers! Run for your lives and hasten back to the ship and leave your gear and save yourselves from destruction. Allah preserve you. For this island whereon you stand is no true island, but a great fish stationary amiddlemost of the sea, whereon the sand hath settled and trees have sprung up of old time, so that it is become like unto an island. But when ye lighted fires on it, it felt the heat and moved. and in a moment it will sink with you into the sea, and you will all be drowned. So leave your gear and seek your safety ere ye die. Sounds like a poetic way of describing a volcanic eruption or an earthquake, does it not? All who heard him left gear and goods, clothes washed and unwashed, fire pots and brass cooking pots, and fled back to the ship for their lives, and some reached it, while others, amongst whom was I, did not. For suddenly the island shook and sank into the abysses of the deep. Just had to keep going for a while. Feels good. Go with it, babies. With all that were thereon, and the dashing sea surged over it with clashing waves. I sank with the others down, down into the deep, but Almighty Allah preserved me from drowning and threw in my way a great wooden tub of those that had served the ship's company for tubbing. I gripped it for the sweetness of life, which when you're about to die seems very sweet in that moment. Ask me how I know. And, bestriding it like one riding, paddled with my feet like oars, whilst the waves tossed me, as in sport, right and left. Meanwhile the captain made sail and departed with those who had reached the ship, regardless of the drowning and the drowned. And I ceased not following the vessel with my eyes, till she was hid from sight, and I was made sure of death. That would have been a terrifying thing indeed. Terrifying. Darkness closed in upon me while in this plight, and the winds and waves bore me on all that night. There's a Chinese man walking past with a little dog that looks a lot like Beauregard. So, oh, I miss my Bobo. Oh, but it's a happy little dog. And it's alive, so we'll be happy for him that his doggy is alive and well and living his best life. Bobo's living his best life, just in the other world. Darkness closed in upon me while in this plight, and the winds and waves bore me on all that night and the next day, till the tub brought to with me under the lee of a lofty island, with trees overhanging the tide. I caught hold of a branch and by its aid clambered up onto the land, after coming nigh upon death. But when I reached the shore, I found my legs cramped and numbed, and my feet bore traces of the nibbling of fish upon their soles. Withal I felt nothing for excess of anguish and fatigue. I threw myself down on the island ground like a dead man, and drowned in desolation, swooned away, i.e. passed out or fainted. Nor did I return to my senses till next morning, when the sun rose and revived me. But I found my feet swollen, so made shift to move by shuffling on my breech and crawling on my knees. Like a woman in the club last night, big round bottom stuck up in the air. It was astonishing. For in that island were found store of fruits and springs of sweet water. I mean, you have to laugh. You really have to laugh. It's kind of fun. I ate of the fruits which strengthened me, and thus I abode days and nights, till my life seemed to return, and my spirits began to revive, and I was better able to move about. I mean, you do that sort of thing at ecstatic dance because you've got the floor space and everyone's manifesting that way. But in a club on top of a big coffee table, it was a bit astonishing. But who am I to judge? Crazy is as crazy does people do. I'll say that sentence again. I ate of the fruits which strengthened me, and thus I abode days and nights till my life seemed to return and my spirits began to revive, and I was better able to move about. So after due consideration, I fell to exploring the island and diverting myself with gazing upon all things that Allah Almighty had created there, and rested under the trees from one of which I cut me a staff to lean upon. Let there be light, and the light was electric, because apparently it's an electric universe. One day, you have to laugh. It is, technically speaking. Did you see Mr. Crow's busy bottom? Oh, no, it's not a crow. It's an Indian miner. Yes, saying hello to you, Charlie. One day as I walked along the marge, I caught sight of some object in the distance and thought it a wild beast or one of the monster creatures of the sea. But as I drew near it, looking hard the while, I saw that it was a noble mare, tethered on the beach. Presently I went up to her, but she cried out against me with a great cry, so that I trembled for fear and turned to go away, when there came forth a man from under the earth and followed me, crying out and saying, Who and whence art thou, and what caused thee to come hither? O my lord, answered I am in very sooth a waif, a stranger, and was left to drown with sundry others by the ship we voyaged in, but Allah graciously sent me a wooden tub, so I saved myself thereon, and it floated with me till the waves cast me up on this island. When he heard this, he took my hand and saying, Come with me, carried me into a great sardab, or underground chamber, which was spacious as a saloon. He made me sit down at its upper end, then he brought me somewhat of food, and being a-hungered, I ate till I was satisfied and refreshed. And when he had put me at mine ease, he questioned me of myself, and I told him all that had befallen me from first to last. And as he wondered at my adventure, I said, By Allah, O my lord, excuse me. I have told thee the truth of my case and the accident which betided me, and now I desire that thou tell me who thou art, and why thou abidest here under the earth, and why thou hast tethered yonder mare on the brink of the sea. Answered he, Know that I am one of the several who are stationed in different parts of this island, and we are of the grooms of King Mirjan. I'll go with Jan because I've been saying Genie and Jan. near Jan. And under our hand are all his horses. Every month, about new moon tide, we bring hither our best mares, which have never been covered, and picket them on the seashore, and hide ourselves in this place under the ground, so that none may espy us. Presently the stallions of the sea scent the mares, and come up out of the water, and seeing no one, leap the mares, and do their will of them. Suspend belief, people of earth. Suspend belief. That's all I've got to say about that. It's a fairy story after all. When they have covered them, they try to drag them away with them, but cannot by reason of the leg ropes. So they cry out at them and butt at them and kick them, which we hearing know that the stallions have dismounted. So we run out and shout at them, whereupon they are startled and return in fear to the sea. Then the mares conceive by them, and bear colts and fillies, worth a mint of money, nor is there like to be found on earth's face. Seahorses cross with real horses. Sea ass, sea mule, sea donkey, donkey see, donkey do. All right, I have to suspend belief, people of earth. This is the time of the coming forth of the sea stallions, and inshallah, I will bear thee to King Mirjan and show thee our country, and know that hadst thou not happened on us, thou hadst perished miserably, and none had known of thee. But I will be the means of the saving of thy life, and of thy return to thine own land. A kindness Mama T approves. I called down blessings on him and thanked him for his kindness and courtesy. And while we were yet talking, behold, the stallion came up out of the sea, and, giving a great cry, sprang upon the mare and covered her. When he had done his will of her, he dismounted and would have carried her away with him, but could not by reason of the tether. She kicked and cried out at him, whereupon the groom took a sword and target and ran out of the underground saloon, smiting the buckler with the blade and calling to his company, who came up shouting and brandishing spears. And the stallion took fright at them, and plunging into the sea like a buffalo, disappeared under the waves. It's a bit like my story, The Last Unicorn, where they were enchanted and kept under the sea. After this we sat a while, till the rest of the grooms came up, each leading a mare, and seeing me with their fellow Syce, seeing me with their fellow Syce, dear goddess. Noun, especially in India, a person who takes care of horses, a groom. I should have worked that out by the context, shouldn't I? and seeing me with their fellow Sais, questioned me of my case, and I repeated my story to them. Thereupon they drew near me, and spreading the table, ate and invited me to eat. So I ate with them, after which they took horse, and mounting me on one of the mares, set out with me and fared on without ceasing, till we came to the capital city of King Mirjan, and going into him acquainted him with my story. Then he sent for me, and when they set me before him, and salams had been exchanged, he gave me a cordial welcome, and wishing me long life, bade me tell my tale. So I related to him all that I had seen, and all that had befallen me from first to last. Whereat he marvelled and said to me, By Allah, O my son, thou hast indeed been miraculously preserved. Were not the term of thy life a long one, thou hadst not escaped from these straits, but praised by Allah for safety. I've been saved from so many near-death experiences, even in early childhood, and I have a freakishly long lifeline, which in numerology means I'm going to live to be very, very, very fucking old. It's like astonishing old. And I always say, how is that possible? I'm never well. I never feel well. I'm going to die young. It's ridiculous. Even my psychiatrist says to me, no, you're so powerful in your core, Tanya. You're going to live another 30 years. Don't be ridiculous, I said. That would make me 89. What fantasy are you delusioning yourself under, that you wish me such a long life, when I have at times actively tried to die, by the way, because my life was so fucking awful. No, Tanya. What if, he said to me, let's just play a thought experiment, he said. This is how he convinced me to accept the CPAP mask and snorkel and ignominy. He said, let's have a thought experiment. What if you get well and you live another 30 years, and the next 30 years of your life are happy and successful with beautiful people in your life and maybe even a loving partner? What if the rest of your life is wonderful, Tanya? That's how he lured me. I love you, Brian. You're a good man. But that's how he lured me into the treatment for the sleep apnea, with this vain fantasy of a long life. But it's because here it is. There's a few problems going to happen later on in life when I'm old. There's a big weird, obviously get put into a home of some kind, or put into some kind of fucking, God forbid, an old people's home. But look, it gets more and more powerful and deeper. Can't quite see it because the stupid laptop camera blurs. But anyway, it gets deeper and more powerful and carries all the way on around my hand. Now, here's the thing, people of Earth. I may not live another 30 years because it's in the lap of the gods and in my own stubborn will, and my psychiatrist and my urologist determined mindset. But all my writings and all my journaling and all my videos are on YouTube. That stays in the ether and can be accessed by any living person that still has access to our internet. All that knowledge and storytelling handed on by me about my personal life histories, but also these wondrous stories is up there for however long the internet stays functioning on our planet Earth. So I personally might actually die younger than I anticipated. But yeah, astonishingly, as old as I am now is still a miraculous thing. But even should I die, I've left breadcrumbs of me behind via our internet for eternity. So, and we're every human on planet Earth alive that has access to the internet, that took the time. I'm not talking about young children because they're still growing and learning how to write and how to express themselves, but everyone over the age of 12 or 15 or 20 that takes the time to share their personal story quite madly and courageously as I do, you're leaving a trail behind for people to be inspired by or guided by or laugh and cry with you at your personal experiences. Some of them are a bit odd, some of them are delightful, some of them are mundane, but there's always some kind of message in there somewhere. The art of the story, apart from our soul, which is eternal, goes on into other dimensions. In this realm, in 3D reality, on planet Earth, it is our story that gifts us eternity, our memory, our experiences. So make them beautiful and life-affirming and soul-nourishing and heartfelt and loving. Make your best stories, people of Earth. Don't wallow in the dirt and the dreck and the dross and the ignominy of other fools. Their stories aren't worth preserving, just saying. But we preserve theirs as well because they're great teaching mechanisms of how not to be or how not to end up like, rise above the morass of evil and putrescence, and quite simply become. My beautiful ones. And I don't mean beautiful that you're necessarily beautiful looking or fair of face, but evolved, constantly emanating, constantly radiant, constantly growing and becoming souls, that kind of beauty. Charlie, come here. Come here, Charlie. Want to cuddle? Do you want to cuddle? You do. Okay. Yeah, the dog bite his stomach. We're having a cuddle. Yes. Were it not the term of thy life a long one, were not the term of your life a long one, thou hadst not escaped from these straits, but praised by Allah for safety. When he spoke, then he spoke cheerily to me, and entreated me with kindness and consideration. Moreover, he made me his agent for the port and registrar of all ships that entered the harbour. It's a very important job, and I suspect pays quite well actually. I attended him regularly to receive his commandments, and he favoured me and did me all manner of kindness, and invested me with costly and splendid robes. I saw also a fish 200 cubits long, Oh, I love the sea. I miss the sea. I miss the smell of the sea. I miss everything. I have to go to the sea soon. It'll do me the power of good. Indeed, I was high in credit with him as an intercessor for the folk and an intermediary between them and him when they wanted aught of him. I abode thus a great while, and as often as I passed through the city of the port, I questioned the merchants and travellers and sailors of the city of Baghdad, so haply I might hear of an occasion to return to my native land, but could find none who knew it, or knew any who resorted thither. At this I was chagrined, for I was weary of long strangerhood. He means homesick. And my disappointment endured for a time, till one day, going into King Mirjan, I found him with a company of Indians. I saluted them, and they returned my salam, and politely welcomed me and asked me of my country. When they asked me of my country, I questioned them of theirs, and they told me that they were of various castes, some being called Shakiriya, who are the noblest of their castes, and neither oppress nor offer violence to any, and others Brahmins, a folk who abstain from wine, but live in delight and solace and merriment, and own camels and horses and cattle. That former lover that haunted me when he died, David Davidson, who was born in Israel and was Orthodox Jew, was a Brahmin for a while in India. Well, so he said, but I suspect he lied, because I never saw him abstain from wine or, in particular, beer. Just saying. Anyway, I didn't know that Brahmins abstain from wine until now. If I'd known that then, I would have called him out on his bullshit then and there. I hate people who tell fairy stories in the sense of lie about who they are. That I don't like. I love a good story as good as anyone else. But with me, always be authentic about whom you are. And I will be authentic with you. I drink Jack Daniels and Coke. Don't mind a nice glass of wine. Has to be sweet, like Moscato or Manischewitz. Haven't had that in 30 odd years. On rare occasions I smoke Willem cigars or bum cigarette, but I'm not really a smoker. I eat meat. I eat copious chocolate. I'm 99.9% chocolate actually, which is not good for me, people of Earth. Not good for me at all. But it's the theobromine fix I've been chasing since childhood. Gee, I had a locum doctor I went to see as a very young woman. Was I already married? I'm married at 19. Yeah, I think I was newly married, but I hadn't had Crystal yet. Anyway, this lovely doctor who was a locum, who was just filling in for my normal doctor. Very nice, handsome, and a kind man, and a gentleman, because I'm weird with male doctors. Always a bit, well, because of my childhood, you know. Male doctors and authority figures can trigger me immensely. So anyway, but he was very kind, and I went into him. I said, why are you here? I need a script for my Ventolin, my inhalers and the Serotype. Probably had bronchitis or something at the time. Anyway, he said he listened to my chest. He said, is there anything else you're worried about, Tanya? I said, I have a serious chocolate addiction. I said, it's out of control. It's worse than it's ever been in my life. Newly married should have told me spoke volumes, right? Comforting myself on a daily basis. Anyway, this wonderful, wonderful man, he wasn't a lot older than me, that doctor, wasn't being creepy or sleazy. He said, what's wrong with that? I said, well, too much sugar causes diabetes, doctor, and heart attacks and Alzheimer's and dementia, and it'll thicken up my arteries and I'll die. He went, but that won't happen for a very long time. You're only 19. What are you worried about? I looked at him. He said, why are you beating yourself up about enjoying chocolate, which is actually, he said, people eat chocolate when they go on long hikes and survivalist type things. He said it's a whole food, actually. So, but it's loaded with sugar, doctor, and fat, and it's making me very, very fat. It's putting on the weight even back then, 19. Well, my husband did cook beautiful meals, it's a bit fair. And so anyway, he said to me, of all the things in this world that you could be worrying about, you're worried about chocolate. And he just started laughing at me. That man was a true healer, He was a true healer. He said, I wouldn't worry about that, Tanya. He said, I think you're fine. I was already, suffering from very bad complex PTSD and major depression, although it wasn't really, the major depression wasn't diagnosed until I was 28 because I fucking hid it well. Well, I was focused on trying to raise my little babies and give them some kind of a life even then, in infancy, Had Jasmine when I was 22, so Crystal at 20 and a half. So my sole focus was, I can't give in to depression, I've got to raise these babies with this idiot that I'm married to. I knew he was an idiot even then. That's the tragedy of it. Staying in a bad marriage, knowing it was bad, but staying in it for the sake of my children, and then ultimately having to just blow the whole thing up and walk away from it and lose everything anyway, including my mental health spiraled up. Well, that was because of the severe abuse and the strangulation and the viciousness of my mother, and all of them. 12 enemies at any given time on the cold face of hell. 2nd of January 1995, and it continued right up until around about 2000. I finally put the skids on it and life started to slowly, incrementally improve. But in truth, it lasted until my mother's death, all that evil and shit. So excuse me while I have to scream, and I have low tolerance for weak, lackluster, vicious, spineless, malevolent people, and liars like that fake Brahmin who was in my life from 1998 to 2001. Abstain from wine. Never mind. But I'm over it. Like, I am over it. Don't get me wrong. I just see the funny side of it now. After about 20 or 30 years, everything becomes comedy. Sad but true. But don't ever tell me that the swastika should be renovated as a sacred symbol, because some shit can never be cleaned. Don't ever tell me that the Holocaust was good for all the souls that perished in it. You motherfuckers. You Nazis. Don't ever tell me that, because that shit, in my worldview, will never become funny and will never be sanitized or cleansed. I hate spiritual bypassers who hide under their white supremacist frocks and their Ku Klux Klan masks, telling me it's good for us. Everyone went there happily for the edification of their souls. That bitch needs to be taken out and shot somewhere. Just saying. They live amongst us, the most profound evil, hiding plain view. And that will never be funny. Ever. But how did we go into this dark hell loop? Oh yes, the Brahmins. I'm sure there were lovely Brahmins who genuinely walked their walk and, as they say here, abstain from wine, but live in delight and solace and merriment, and own camels and horses and cattle. Sounds like not such a bad way to be, being Brahmin. I myself like to live in delight, solace and merriment. That's why I go dancing every weekend, rest joy from what's left of my gravel rash life. And if I had the money, I'd own a horse too, because I love horses. Do a lot of work though, and probably wouldn't cope with the amount of work now, but I had a horse as a teenager, and they're lovely people to have around. Camels spit though. Camels can be a bit bad-tempered and bite you and spit. But they're probably lovely if you befriend one and have a good relationship with one. I mean, even Sybil Serpent, the carpet snake that was here for 12 days, she was very pleasant, wasn't she, Charlie? I didn't leave you anywhere near her immediate vicinity because you're an afternoon snack, but apart from that, she was very pleasant. Moreover, they told me that the people of India are divided into 72 castes. 72 castes. And I marvelled at this with exceeding marvel. By the gods, my eyes are really blue today. Is it? Why is that? Probably sleep deprivation. I only slept for about 4 hours after the wild dance. I often don't sleep. It's weird, but it is what it is, people. Re-innovating myself from Crondon can be a work of art and an astonishment and a revivification of my body, mind and spirit as well. Amongst other things that I saw, I don't know, but my nose is itchy. Amongst other things that I saw in King Mirjan's dominions was an island called Kasil, K-A-S-I-L. Don't bite me, Charlie. Wherein all-nighters heard the beating of drums and tabrets. But we were told by the neighbouring islanders and by travellers that the inhabitants are people of diligence and judgment. In this sea I saw also a fish 200 cubits long, and the fishermen fear it, so they strike together pieces of wood and put it to flight. Sounds like a whale, doesn't it? 200, it's even bigger than a whale, 200 cubits. Goodness, the Leviathan that they mentioned in the Bible. I also saw another fish with a head like that of an owl, besides many other wonders and rarities, which it would be tedious to recount. I just had a funny thought last night. My friend Sonia, she's very eccentric and lovely, but she's very magical like me. She's a psychic. And she turned to me, she said, I met a woman today, she said. She's Greek. She said she has the most astonishing name. I smiled sweetly. What's that? I said, Sonia. She said, her name is Aphrodite. I said, but that's a beautiful name. It's the goddess of love. Quite sure it's a common name amongst Greek people. She said, well, it really freaked me out. And I said, the goddess is with you, my darling, always and forever, including the goddess of love, Aphrodite. Do you know what? That made my day, or that made my night. I thought, how sweet. I met, I had Amanda at the coffee shop. She sold it. They've gone on and lost contact with her now. But I met her mother one time, and I asked her what her name was. Let me just think what it was. Oh, that's right. She said, my name is Agape. I said, are you for real? She said, yes. I said, what a beautiful name. One cannot possibly have a more beautiful name than Agape, the highest form of love there is. She said, oh, you know Tanya? I said, yes, indeed I do. And we just smiled at each other. She said, hardly anyone knows that that's the meaning of my name. And I nodded, and Amanda nodded happily too. It's wonderful. Very attractive woman she is too, and her daughter. Oh, bless. Wherever you are, I hope you're doing well, my darling girls, well, women. But anyway, Aphrodite love, which is more the love between men and women, more eros kind of. Oh, not always, but agape love, that's special. I also saw another fish with a head like that of an owl, besides many other wonders and rarities, which it would be tedious to recount. I occupied myself thus in visiting the islands till one day, as I stood in the port with a staff in my hand according to my custom, behold, a great ship wherein were many merchants came sailing for the harbour. When it reached the small inner port where ships anchor under the city, the master filled his sails and making fast to the shore put out the landing planks, whereupon the crew fell to breaking bulk and landing cargo, whilst I stood by, taking written note of them. They were long in bringing the goods ashore, so I asked the master, is there aught left in thy ship? And he answered, O my lord, there are divers bales of merchandise in the hold, whose owner was drowned from amongst us at one of the islands on our course. So his goods remained in our charge by way of trust, and we purpose to sell them and note their price, that we may convey it to his people in the city of Baghdad, the home of peace. Well, it's no longer the home of peace, is it now? Times have changed, alas. What was the merchant's name? Quoth I, and quoth he, Sinbad the Sailor. Whereupon I straightly considered him, and knowing him, cried out to him with a great cry, saying, O Captain, I am that Sinbad the Sailor, who travelled with other merchants, and when the fish heaved and thou callest to us, some saved themselves, and others sank, I being one of them. But Allah Almighty threw in my way a great tub of wood of those the crew had used to wash withal, and the winds and waves carried me to this island where, by Allah's grace, I fell in with King Mirjan's grooms, and they brought me hither to the king their master. When I told him my story, he entreated me with favour and made me his harbour master, and I have prospered in his service and found acceptance with him. These bales, therefore, are mine, the goods which God hath given me. The other exclaimed, "There is no majesty and there is no might save in Allah, the glorious, the great. Verily, there is neither conscience nor good faith left among men." Said I, "O race, what mean these words, seeing that I have told thee my case?" And he answered, "Because thou heardest me say that I had with me goods whose owner was drowned, thou thinkest to take them without right, but this is forbidden by law to thee. For we saw him drown before our eyes, together with many other passengers, nor was one of them saved. So how canst thou pretend that thou art the owner of the goods?" "O Captain," said I, "listen to my story, and give heed to my words, and my truth will be manifest to thee, for lying and leasing are the letter marks of the hypocrites." Then I recounted to him all that had befallen me, since I sailed from Baghdad with him to the time when we came to the fish island, where we were nearly drowned, and I reminded him of certain matters that had passed between us, whereupon both he and the merchants were certified at the truth of my story, and recognized me, and gave me joy of my deliverance, saying, "By Allah, we thought not that thou hadst escaped drowning, but the Lord hath granted thee new life." Then they delivered my bales to me, and I found my name written thereon, nor was aught thereof lacking. So I opened them, and making up a present for King Mirjan of the finest and costliest of the contents, caused the sailors carry it up to the palace, where I went in to the king and laid my present at his feet, acquainting him with what had happened, especially concerning the ship and my goods. Whereat he wondered with exceeding wonder, and the truth of all that I had told him was made manifest to him. His affection for me redoubled after that, and he showed me exceeding honour, and bestowed on me a great present in return for mine. Then I sold my bales and what other matters I owned, making a great profit on them, and brought me other goods and gear of the growth and fashion of the island city. When the merchants were about to start on their homeward voyage, I embarked on board the ship all that I possessed, and going into the king, thanked him for all his favours and friendship, and craved his leave to return to my own land and friends. He farewelled me and bestowed on me great store of the country stuffs and produce, and I took leave of him and embarked. Then we set sail and fared on nights and days by the permission of Allah Almighty, and fortune served us and fate favoured us, so that we arrived in safety at Bassorah city, where I landed rejoiced in my safe return to my natal soil. After a short stay I set out for Baghdad, the house of peace. May she return to that state again, with store of goods and commodities of great price. Just kind of funny coming from a Jew, but so it is and so it shall always be. Peace be upon all of us, upon all countries on earth, including the Holy Land. Let peace be restored. Amen. Salah. Reaching the city in due time, I went straight to my own quarter and entered my house, where all my friends and kinsfolk came to greet me. Then I bought me eunuchs and concubines, servants and negro slaves, till I had a large establishment, and I bought me houses and lands and gardens, till I was richer and in better case than before, and returned to enjoy the society of my friends and familiars more assiduously than ever, forgetting all I had suffered of fatigue and hardship and strangerhood, and every peril of travel. And I applied myself to all manner joys and solaces and delights, eating the daintiest viands, and drinking the deliciousest wines, and my wealth allowed this state of things to endure. This then is the story of my first voyage, and tomorrow, inshallah, I will tell you the tale of the second of my 7 voyages, saith he who telleth the tale. Then Sinbad the Sailor made Sinbad the Landsman sup with him, and bade give him 100 gold pieces, saying, Thou hast cheered me with thy company this day. The porter thanked him, and taking the gift, went his way, pondering that which he had heard, and marvelling mighty at what things betide mankind. He passed the night in his own place, and with early morning repaired to the abode of Sinbad the Sailor, who received him with honour and seated him by his side. As soon as the rest of the company was assembled, he set meat and drink before them, and when they had well eaten and drunken and were merry, he took up his discourse, and recounted to them in these words the narrative of the second voyage of Sinbad the Sailor. But I shall stop there because I'm waxing a bit tired, and I segued so it was a longer video than it needed to be. Oops, sorry. And it's now 6:03 p.m. and I'm a bit hungry now. So I bid you all good evening, wherever you are in the space-time continuum. Have a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, or night on planet Earth. And I shall come back tomorrow with the second voyage of Sinbad the Sailor. And Goddess bless us always and forever. So mote it be. Amen. Bismillah. Bye for now. Take good care. Be of good cheer. And my mouse won't work, which is annoying. Let's try that again, Sam. Bye for now.